Should toxic environments be avoided at all costs? Great question, Michael. Thank you, Michael. But what exactly do you mean by a toxic environment? Well, say a workplace. Say you work in close quarters with a group of people who are always cracking disgusting jokes denigrating women or people of a certain creed or color. So the question is, should you quit your job? Or worse, you live in a really bad part of town where people are always drinking to excess and smoking marijuana on the sidewalk and having rowdy parties late into the night. So the question is, should you move? Precisely. What's the Torah saying? So in the Torah, in the book of Genesis, we actually have the paradigm of an idolatry-infested, morally depraved, toxic environment. You mean Egypt, the New Kingdom dynasty. 18th, Joseph is viceroy. Jacob's son, he the man. And in fact, Jacob, Yaakov Avinu, has been living in Egypt for many years, and he's on the last lap of his mortal coil when he's visited by his beloved son Joseph, viceroy of Egypt, who brings along his own sons Menashe and Ephraim. The frail old Jacob manages to sit up on the edge of the bed and give Joseph his blessing, whereupon Joseph presents his sons, putting Menashe the firstborn on Jacob's right and Ephraim on his left, so that the patriarch can put his hands on their heads as he blesses them, giving the firstborn the more powerful benedictive blessing of his right hand. But Jacob crosses his hands. The old switcheroo. But Joseph says, no, Papa, this one's the firstborn. Exactly. And Jacob tells Joseph, I know, my son, I know, he too will be great, but the younger one will be greater than he. And this explains if toxic environments must be avoided at all costs because each one of Joseph's sons entails a philosophy of how to deal with toxic environments. Philosophy, eh? Say, aren't you a doctor? The philosophy of each one is encoded in his name. When Joseph had his first son, he named him Menashe, because God has caused me to forget Nashani, my father's house, and consequently I longed to bind myself to the memory of my father's house. Menashe's philosophy says you have to protect yourself from the bad influences of your environment at all costs. And he named his second-born Ephraim because God has made me fruitful, Hephrani, in the land of my affliction. Which means you have to engage this environment despite its potentially negative influence in order to redeem it and in order to thrive in this land of my affliction. So if I work in an office with a bunch of disgusting Neanderthals, I shouldn't necessarily quit. I should try to influence them, if you can do it. Well, let's not go overboard. There are situations that are so bad where quitting is the best and the right course of action. Let's not forget that the Jews did leave Egypt. Exodus. Exit this. Right, but wait, back to the blessing. Why did Joseph want Menashe to get the right-handed blessing? Well, let's not forget that Joseph himself, living in idol-infested, morally depraved Egypt, had made tremendous heroic efforts to hold on to his moral integrity, the ways of his father's house, and so he wanted Menashe to have the stronger blessing. He wanted Menashe to be able to teach future generations how to withstand the temptations of a toxic environment like Egypt. Nice, and I guess Jacob saw beyond the immediate need for self-protection. He saw that the ultimate purpose of life is to engage the world, to engage it precisely in its toxicity in order to influence it, in order to redeem it from its toxicity. And so he wanted Ephraim to have the stronger right-handed blessing. So Joseph was wrong? Joseph Hatzadik wrong? Right? Joseph was not wrong. Right. The key thing is the order. Joseph was entirely right to put a healthy, robust, strong Jewish education first. But the whole point of this type of insular, morally inoculated education is to go out into the world in order to transform it in a positive way. So a toxic environment should not be avoided at all costs? Not when you've developed your own moral fiber to the degree that you can detox it, the environment. And I suppose that it's in engaging a toxic environment that you come in touch with your own moral wherewithal for the first time, which wouldn't have happened if you stayed at home. Ready?